Welcome back to the White Noise Podcast. I'm Ethan, joined by Gavan.
Yo.
And as always, Jacob behind the glass.
Yes, sir.
So, Gavan, how about them Cardinals, dude?
What about them?
That's
Ouch.
cardiac cards.
Cardiac,
even.
Kyler.
I know, they let us down.
I wasn't even having like heart problems. I was just having neck problems mostly.
I might have had a stroke or two.
It was painful to watch. It was watching. I turned off the game before halftime even happened. I think it was the middle of the second quarter.
It's true, I was there.
Maybe even earlier. And I was like, you know what? I'm a Bengals fan now. I like Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is cool. Let's go Bengals.
Screw the Bengals.
I'm still a loyal and depressed fan.
Yes. It's just hard being a fan. That's how it always is the Cardinals. But, you know.
Pain.
That's how it goes in the NFL.
Man.
Well, let's float this boat. And we're back.
Rest in peace, Buda Baker.
He's fine.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to talk about that right now because I know you have a lot of strong opinions about that, Gavin.
Strong opinions.
We'll get into that later. Right now, let's talk about Moon Knight, the Disney Plus series. That on that Monday night game is where the trailer premiered.
Yeah,
so
it was awesome. I enjoyed watching that. Oh my god!
I know what you always say. One of your favorite superheroes is Moon Knight,
Of course.
So how do you feel about him getting his own Disney Plus series?
It took way too long. Watching. When was it revealed that he was going to be getting it? Wasn't that back in like 2016?
Can you give me a quick rundown of Moon Knight real quick?
Moon Knight. Okay, so
Like who
all
is
my
Moon
research, the simplest, purest form. A lot of people compare him to Batman, so he's like Marvel's Batman.
Okay.
But he's not afraid to kill people.
He's brutal and psychotic.
Nice.
He's also got I'm sorry, what is it called now? Dissociative personality syndrome or whatever?
He has like multiple personalities.
Yeah, multiple personalities.
Gotcha.
To where it was a thing, from what I read and looked up, of he tried to take on too many personas. Like it was a persona as like a low-level street guy, like to have contacts at the street level, and then like more of a high-profile persona, and then like the personas just became too much for him. And then
So he's like Batman and Joker into one.
I
guess that's
I think I
it's
remember.
oversimplification, but
So is he like good guy, bad guy,
He's a good
middle?
He's the Punisher.
he's
the Punisher. Okay,
more of a
cool.
Punisher level.
He's
Gotcha.
not. He's neither. Can't really. I wouldn't look up to him, but then again, not exactly the most evil person I've
But
never
he's
seen.
really cool. I've always liked him. I never knew really that much about him, but I thought he was always a cool character, especially with his character design.
Oh yeah, I love that so
Which-
much.
Personally, I'm not a fan of the Disney Plus costume. I know a lot of people like it, but
I just think the cape was a little too big. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good.
just the cape is too
The cape
big.
was a little too big, just a little bit.
I assume that it's going to be treated as like a starter suit, and then later on he'll get a revamped suit that's more
I imagine. I mean,
cleaned and polished.
if we look at like Daredevil didn't
Yeah.
have his suit right away. And even then, his start out suit wasn't like bad. But I
like
guess
his
it was.
start-out
It was
suit.
pretty basic, but.
I liked it a lot, though. A lot of people liked it a lot more than the regular suit. That's why they brought it back in season 3.
But I mean, Moon Knight's suit starts out. I think it starts out CGI, doesn't it?
Yeah, because Mark Spector, when he was left for dead in the desert and stuff, and he got the cape, that's where like the power comes, or that's where part of the costume comes from. So it was already pre-made and given to him. I don't know much about him, but
I also read that he can be resurrected, so he can't really die.
Yeah,
'cause the
he's-
moon god can just resurrect him again.
the Moon God is the one that resurrected him in the first place as a way to, I don't know, do the God's bidding, basically, with justice and
I think
revenge
so, yeah.
and stuff.
Somewhere along those lines.
You know, just your typical comic book character.
I want to see him beat the shit out of somebody so bad.
I'm excited to see how far Disney's willing to go with this character, because like in the Netflix Marvel TV shows, the characters were brutal. The violence was there. It was action packed, bloody, whatever.
Punisher was pretty bad.
Wilson Fisk slammed someone's head in a car door until the door shut. So that was a really cool scene. So seeing what they did to Wilson Fisk in the Hawkeye series, where they kind of nerfed him a lot compared to Daredevil, I'm curious to see how they're going to handle a violent character like Moon Knight. Which, unfortunately, one of the main actors on the show passed away.
Rest in peace.
With a skiing incident. He's a French actor. His name's Gaspard Ulliel, if I'm pronouncing that right. But he played the character of Anton Mogar, also known as a Midnight Man in the comics. And he passed away with a skiing incident. And that's very unfortunate because he had a up-and-coming career as an actor. I had imagined that this role in Moon Knight would have really jump-started that even more. Mm-hmm. So that's unfortunate. Thoughts on that, Gavin?
I mean, the whole first season was recorded, right? It's already been filmed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, because if he's a really good performance, it's going to make me even more sad, because it's like, oh, he's not going to be there anymore. But otherwise, that sucks. That's all I can say is that's pretty much a tragedy.
Yeah. So Moon Knight comes out in March, I think. Something else that comes out in March is the Batman.
Oh, how coincidental.
Which Moon Knight is always compared to Batman, so it's cool to have those two characters having something released at the same time. The Batman, they just released their runtime. Mm-hmm. And it comes out to 2 hours and 55 minutes.
Damn.
So right under that 3-hour mark. That's a long movie.
Yeah.
I never realized how long those movies were. Because, I don't know, I just watch it blindly, I guess. But that's 3 hours.
I feel like people are just, at this point, like Marvel and DC are just trying to one-up each film and just see how long you can make a film before it eventually just gets to the point where it's too long.
Yeah.
Like even Far From Home, No Way Home, like even at some point I felt that movie was a little too long, but they did manage to have enough characters to where it filled the movie entirely. Yeah. But for the Batman, I have no idea. I mean, Riddler better be good for this movie to be nearly 3 hours.
I'm excited to see what they do with it and see how their take on the Batman, considering there's so many Batman TV shows,
and I'm
movies,
really
and
excited.
everything.
It's Robert Pattinson, right?
I'm
excited for that.
Excited. The second he was announced, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be awesome.
And the villain is Riddler, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's just after seeing Jim Carrey's Riddler, I'm like, I can't look at that and go, oh man, I can't wait to see the Riddler. Can't wait after we get Bane and Joker and shit. Can't wait for the Riddler.
They're gonna take an approach of the Riddler being more of a serial killer leaving these clues.
Yeah.
And then the Batman, they're actually gonna give like a detective Batman. We got a little bit of that with Christian Bale, I think, like where he was investigating a lot of stuff. But it's going to be really cool seeing Robert Pattinson as an actual detective because the Batman's also known as the world's greatest detective. So I'm really excited to see that.
He's also going to be beating the shit out of a lot of people.
I'm excited to see that
Let's
as well.
Yeah. Let's go.
Didn't they say this is when Batman was like truly almost straight up like a murderer at this point? Like he was just right about to kill people?
He's in year 2, so I don't know what they're going to do as far as like his arc and if he ever implements that no-kill rule before he becomes Batman. I know in the trailer, Andy Serkis is like, you're going down this path and I can't follow you, Natalie Portman style. I don't know the exact line, but I know it's something along those lines.
Going down a path I can't follow.
Yeah.
You're breaking my heart.
But I'm excited to see the Batman.
You're welcome.
Super excited for Robert Pattinson.
Hey, I like Jim Carrey's slapstick Riddler. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
It wasn't horrible, but I mean...
It was the best performance of that movie.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
That was the one with Mr. Freeze
much.
and George Clooney. That was the same one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Wasn't Tommy Lee... was Tommy Lee Jones in that one?
Two-Face.
He was Two-Face.
Yeah.
Was he in that one?
It was that
Was
one.
it
No,
that
he's
one?
not in the Mr. Freeze one.
Okay.
It's Two-Face and the Riddler. Are
Which
the main...
is it Val Kilmer then?
I think it was
Yes.
Freeze and Poison Ivy is the one.
Freeze
you're
and
talking
Poison Ivy is the one with George Clooney, yeah.
God,
Yeah, that one, the
both
other
of
one's
those
still
were-
Val Kilmer.
There's so many Batman movies, and it was funny because it was like one after the other. There was one in like 89, there was like 6 in the 90s, and it was like all these different actors. Like Michael Keaton was only in 2, then Val Kilmer, then George Clooney, and it's like...
Nipple Batman.
Nipple Batman.
Iceman.
Gotta protect him.
You do. You don't understand. Having the nipples put on the suit is imperative for the costume.
Trust me, Alfred, the nipple armor is imperative.
Don't question it.
Yes, so excited for the Batman. And now that we talked about that, let's go into the
Football.
NFL playoffs.
Oh boy. How about them clown boys?
Oh, jeez.
Clown boys.
Cowboys, get it?
Yeah, I didn't get that, but now I understand.
Them
Got it.
boys.
Oh
Boys.
my god, that had to have been the most disappointing finish I've ever seen to a football game.
Yep.
You know the
I watched that ending in a Winco on my phone, and I was like, oh. Well, I mean, there was like 10 other guys also walking around with their phones watching the game.
I was like,
but yeah,
I was
Shout out
invested in
Winco.
that game.
shout out to Winco.
Like watching that game for the whole second half, I was like, they get the ball back, which I was like, no way, they got it. And then they go for a fucking run.
Well,
they didn't even go out of bounds.
They got the ball back like deep in their own territory,
And they were
and they
driving it, yeah.
They drove it down the field. I was like, oh my gosh, they could actually like.
I thought they were gonna do it.
Yeah, but then that run up the middle, and I was like,
It was
oh,
a horrible decision.
Okay.
Again, like if I can't say what I would do if I was the quarterback, but if he was ordered to do that play, wouldn't you just like call a quick like hot play?
Well, yeah,
Like, yeah, we're not doing that. Like
that's. You know the Skeletor meme of like where he says something and then like have a nice day and like he runs.
Yeah.
Someone took a picture of the ref after he said like that's the end of the game and like he turns and runs and it matched up perfectly with like the way his body was positioned.
he had to get out of there, bro.
It's like that's the end of regulation.
Yeah, so the Cowboys fell to the 49ers 23-17 on Sunday.
Sheesh.
The first game on Saturday was the Bengals over the Raiders, 26-19.
That was a good game. I liked that game. That game was. I don't think.
What do you think about the controversy with the whistle being blown? In the
I
middle of
haven't
the throw?
gotten to see the play or see the whole how it played out.
I didn't see the game entirely. I was watching it.
Well, the incident was Joe Burrow was getting ready to throw the ball, scrambles out of the pocket, running towards the sideline, and then he goes to throw the ball. And I guess the ref thought he was going to step out of bounds, so he blew the whistle prematurely, like when the ball was 2 feet away from the receiver's hands and the receiver caught it. And then they gave him the touchdown. They're like, oh yeah, like our mistake, touchdown. By the rule, like in the rule book, when a ref's whistle is blown, everything after doesn't count. And I can agree with the rule book in that, but I think the whistle was blown at a time where nothing could, like the play was already
Going.
The touchdown was already going to be scored. Even if he didn't blow the whistle, the same exact thing would have happened. If he did blow it,
Yeah, like it didn't make a huge difference, but like technically, it's something that Raiders fans latch onto. And
exactly.
like,
If I was a Raiders fan,
yeah,
God forbid, then I would be pretty pissed about that too.
shout out to Las Vegas.
Was the defender like? Did they stop after the whistle blew, or was there just
The
no defender
defense
there?
stopped,
Oh well, then yeah, I'm kind of
but the
against.
ball
that
was
then.
already moving.
So, I mean, yeah,
I haven't
the
seen it, so I don't
That's
know.
a really disciplined defense to stop. Like,
Well, if the receiver caught the ball and the defense stops,
it was
then
more
I would-
confusion. Like everyone was like, "Wait, what?"
yeah,
I don't know.
just a weird play. And then the other Saturday night game was the Bills over the Patriots.
That wasn't a game. That was a execution.
Arguably the second worst game of the weekend. But yeah, 47-17, Bills over the Patriots. Not much to say about that
Which
one.
I'm
Go Josh Allen. I want him to see him go to the Super Bowl this year.
Lost me $5.
not against my Bengals, Jacob. Not against my Bengals.
Your Bengals. Okay.
Your Bengals.
And then Sunday, Gavan and Tom Brady's Buccaneers overcame the stout Philadelphia defense.
That
31-15, another blowout win.
It was like 31,
and it
didn't
wasn't
even
even that close.
yeah.
It was like 31-0.
And they didn't even score like those touchdowns till
the fourth quarter.
Yeah, like,
Exactly.
way into the game.
And then Sunday, the
thought it was gonna be a
Niners
shutout.
Cowboys. The Sunday night game was Chiefs over the Steelers, 42-21. Another blowout.
That game by the end of the first quarter was 0-0.
Yep.
There was like 9 punts.
The Steelers were up 7-0 at one point.
Yeah, it was like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, back and forth. And then after half, the Chiefs were like, all right, let's get this over with.
All right, let's crack our knuckles. Let's get in there.
And then Monday night, Rams Cardinals, 34-11. Okay, that was wild card weekend.
Let me remind you that had the Los Angeles Chargers just not called a timeout, that game probably would have went differently. Could have been Chargers and Chiefs, right? Rather than the Steelers making it in, because the Steelers wouldn't have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep,
God,
that
why did
probably
the
would have been a
Chargers do
different
that?
game.
God, pisses me off. Anyway,
Oh well. More football next week. We'll get into the rest of those games.
Bengals Packers. You heard it here.
Larry
Super Bowl.
Fitzgerald Sr. who is the father of Larry Fitzgerald. Obvious. I just don't want you to get confused. That is the ex-Cardinals player. Sad. But Larry Fitzgerald, senior, not official, right? But he is technically a free agent.
Yes.
Had a tweet. This doesn't relate to the playoffs or anything. It's just he tweeted about Deandre Hopkins, another Cardinals receiver, saying, biggest problem with Hopkins is the head coach allows him to skip practices. My son set a strong work ethic example 17 years, and QB Kyler Murray needs practice reps. He missed 3 games. Nobody works harder than Tom Brady. Practice. And that I felt like that came out of nowhere. But throughout the season, when the report would come out of like, oh, DeAndre Hopkins didn't practice today, like over and over again, I was like, why didn't he practice? And a lot of people's arguments is, oh, he's that good. He doesn't need to practice.
No, I'm sorry.
Which I can see that argument, but where's the practice for Kyler trying to build the repetition of throwing it to Hopkins?
Yeah, no, he should be held accountable for that. Wasn't he injured at one point? So I can understand that.
This was before the injury, and then when he was asked, last year when he was asked about his practice habits, this was what he said in quotes. There's a reason that I play football and they watch, so I really don't listen to criticism. That's what he said last year. I mean, when the whole practice thing was brought up. So this has been like an ongoing thing. And then the whole thing is, which I've seen, which I just saw today, but it kind of makes sense, is Cliff Kingsbury is too laid back.
Yeah.
With the players.
I can see it.
I can see that as well. Now, after like that was brought to my attention, I was like, oh.
I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but like it's okay. So yeah, say he's too laid back. They started 7-0.
I know, and like the whole thing with Cliff,
is he too laid back? 7-0.
Yeah,
but then they falter down the stretch.
It's also his second half of the season record compared to like the first half, like his entire career
been going on.
Which.
But I do have another Larry Fitzgerald Sr. tweet
when
story
when I brought up to Jacob,
that I heard.
I was like, "Oh, Jacob, did you see Larry Fitzgerald Sr.'s tweet?" He's like, "Oh yeah, the one about Kurt Warner." And I was like, "What?
What?
No." And then
did he clown on? Did he clown on Kurt Warner too?
Yeah, well, like throwing shade at him. So this was on the radio, the story that I heard. So I don't have like the tweets in front of me. I don't have Twitter. Mm-hmm. Oof. But they were talking about how Kurt Warner was like doing commentary on a game, like on Twitter. Like he tweeted out something during, it might have been the Cowboys game or maybe the Bengals, a game where a team was driving down and time was running out. They were trying to score a touchdown, so they spiked the ball, right?
Right.
They get a play, their time keeps running, so they run up real quick, spike the ball to stop the clock. And Kurt Warner had tweeted out like, I don't understand why teams don't have a game plan for that. Like, why do you need to? You're spiking the ball, you're wasting it down. You should have something in place that you can, automatically go to, so you don't waste that play. And that was like the gist of his tweet.
Okay.
And then Larry Fitzgerald Sr. comes in and says, "Oh, you mean like the James Harrison interception that you threw?" Referencing the Super Bowl when he threw the 99-yard interception for a touchdown that basically cost the Cardinals the Super Bowl.
Well,
and that was what?
Like, that's really uncalled for.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of
13 years ago.
Yeah, so
nice guy move.
And then Kurt Warner replied, "He's like, no, that's a little different." So I mean, it didn't. And then like a bunch of like the replies of it did not seem like it was in jest or like poking fun. So with the the previous tweet about D-Hop, and he's tweeted a lot a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, he's out for blood right now, bro.
Yeah, he's
it's like my son's not on the team anymore.
He's fired up. He's a
Brady
little out
sucks.
there.
Well, he complimented Brady in that tweet. But
I
saw that. I was like,
huh,
that's interesting. Well, he's a reporter. He's a sports reporter, so he's always covered.
Right.
And the whole thing was when he watched like his son score a touchdown or something, and like he would just like make note of it in his journal, like his journalist journal, and like that's it. There was no cheer or anything or
so weird
a sense of excitement, but that was always the demeanor he had, as like this hard ass type attitude. And then so that's enough of football for this week. Let's move on to movies.
That's enough for me for the year.
It's coming to an end. So the movie review from last week, the one that we watched this week, was Train to Busan, which was the 2016 Korean action thriller, borderline horror, but not really, zombie movie. And Gavin, what'd you think about it?
This is easily probably one of my favorite zombie movies that I've ever seen. This was very good. Ultimately, I think I love the character development from the dad. I loved how he turned in from like a supposedly, I don't really care about my daughter, even though that him and the other dad talked. It's like she'll understand when she grows up that you were working for her, and that maybe he should have prioritized spending some more time with his daughter. Considering
Spoiler warning.
I think he did. Well, we're doing a fucking review.
No.
I think it was brought up that he did forget his birthday or her birthday because he was talking to his wife, right?
Well,
he was like, "Of course I didn't forget." It's like,
no, because
I don't know.
He in the very beginning when he was in his office, he asked his assistant like, "Oh, what do kids like?"
Yeah.
So that he was getting the present, and then I think the whole thing was like, "Oh, kids like a Wii." He's like, "Oh, I'll get her a Wii." And the whole thing was him not realizing she already had a Wii.
Well, I think she had gotten it that day because she said it was like a child. It was a gift from school.
Something like that. I don't know. That part was really confusing, but it really showed. I loved the characters, so seeing them all die one by one was really hard to watch. I wish I had my notes here, guys.
Especially Don Lee, bro.
I know the guy from Eternals.
He's a very famous South Korean actor.
No, I know, but I'm pretty sure everyone would know him from Eternals. I didn't know he was in it. He was one of my favorite characters, but I couldn't get a read off him because sometimes he'd say like some snarky jerk comment, and then like when they were in the washroom where he was like, "Oh, you glad you saw your daughter? Like thanks to me," and then 2 minutes later he's like, "Well, she'll understand when she's older," and I'm like, "What?" That was the only confusing part.
I think he was just trying to be like,
it was a banter type thing. I think.
Yeah, I don't think he truly meant to be a dick, but just because he also made fun of the athlete. He was like, "How tall are you?"
He's like 5'9".
But my favorite scene
funny, or the ringtone thing. I thought that was funny. I made note of that.
How do you change that?
It was like ringtone. What? How do you change it?
My favorite scene in that entire movie was when they like had to go through the train cars, and so they were just it was just him. It was the main dad, then Don Lee's character, and then the athlete, and they were just taking formation and all that. So that was fucking cool.
I was watching that, and the first thing I thought of was like, how come they can never do this kind of crap in Walking Dead? With slower, less aggressive zombies. Why can't they do that in Walking Dead?
I
say that about every zombie movie though, except World War Z.
This man was just beating the shit out of all these zombies. He was just punching
like,
them.
Let's do it.
The part where he grabbed a zombie and threw him up on the roof, I was like, yo, what? This man is Batman. This is the Korean Batman.
And then when they moved to the next car, and then like all the other athletes were there, I was like, oh, that's rough.
I hated seeing the athlete die, especially with this girl. And it was because of the stupid business dude or whatever. God, that pissed me off.
He killed the train conductor.
He killed everybody.
I know. So when after it was car 15 that got overloaded, and then it pans back and shows him in the bathroom and stuff
with the assistant or whatever,
the train attendant.
Yeah.
And then he throws him out. I'm like, God, what's up with this guy?
When he was like, "Is the coast clear?" and he nods his head, I'm like, "You bastard!" He's like, "You're gonna sacrifice him, aren't you?"
I really enjoyed it. I also thought the pacing was good. It had one of the best first acts I saw in a zombie movie.
I know.
Like everything was really well paced. The little hints of like something sketchy is going on, but it wasn't like really obvious. And then it gradually got worse. My only nitpick is when the conductor that's letting everyone on the train kind of like turns his head, and then that chick just runs in and starts like grunting right there with the door open, and he doesn't notice that.
That's what I was saying that the whole time. I'm like, he didn't hear that. She didn't even. It's not like she just stealthed her way on. She just ran in there and dove in there, and then she's like grunting the whole time. I'm like, you still don't hear that? What?
I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. I was like, oh, I have to read subtitles.
I enjoyed it. I think the dub would have been less.
I refused to watch the dub version because it just takes me out of it because the voice acting is very exaggerated. It
doesn't match their lips either.
Well, that too, but also the voice acting is very exaggerated.
Yeah. Ending was, whoo.
I know with the dad and
tearjerker right there, bro.
I got emotional, but I think I actually got watery-eyed.
I did get watery-eyed.
When Don Lee's character was...
I know.
When he died. And then, like, the last thing he shouts out is his daughter's name.
I know. Oh, my God.
I was like, imagine telling like your friends like, oh, how were you named? Like, oh, my dad shouted out before he was eaten by zombies.
Just watching the main dad like get bit in the hand, I wanted to break something right there, bro. I had to pause it. I was like, fuck, God, I was mad as shit.
I'm usually not a fan of movies where they like kill off character after character after character, but I really enjoyed this, and my rating this week for it is going to be a 90%.
I was going to say I was going to do a 95%. This was a near perfect movie, in my opinion.
Really enjoyed it. Really loved it. If you haven't seen it yet, sorry for all the spoilers, but go watch it.
There's also a sequel, just so you know.
It's called Snowpiercer.
Is it?
No, it's not. Snowpiercer is also a good movie.
It's like the same movie. It just not zombies. Different premise, same movie.
Shout out to the crazy dad or crazy dude that like saved the pregnant woman in the.
Yeah, that was sad too. It was a really good movie. I liked how they did everything.
What do we got next week?
Next week we have The Departed.
Ooh.
It is a Scorsese movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and some other guys.
Mark Wahlberg is in there. Jack Nicholson.
Mark Wahlberg. It's a 2006 movie.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. It was so far from what I've seen, it was really good.
It's Matt Damon, not Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg was also in it.
Oh yeah, he is in it too. Huh. That's weird. There's a lot of people in it. Martin Sheen.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and watch that next week and then review it, and we'll give you our thoughts. So make sure, if you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, maybe watch it again.
Got a week.
If you didn't watch Train to Busan, you can watch it on Peacock and Amazon Prime.
Peacock, yeah. Peacock is the dubbed version. Amazon Prime is the original version.
Yeah, only the original on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to watch the dubbed version anyway.
Correct.
I tell that to anime fans.
Well, this is a whole nother thing.
Oh boy,
I'm fine with watching. I'm fine with watching some dubbed in anime, but I will not watch it in live action because the mouth doesn't match up.
Okay, that's fair. It's different.
All right.
So quickly, I looked it up on The Departed. You can get it on Amazon Prime, Vudu, Apple TV, YouTube if you want to buy it on there. But it doesn't look like it's free to watch anywhere.
Free to watch anywhere. Yeah, I noticed that. That's a common theme, though.
So watch Party Boys.
It might be on HBO Max, but they might have taken it off. So
I do remember watching bits and pieces of it on Netflix.
Well, Netflix always takes stuff off every month.
I know. It sucks.
We'll find it.
All right, so let's get into the White Noise Chronicle of the week. It's a little story from last June.
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back. So I was driving down the street, the freeway, last June, and it was also raining, just a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy. Mm-hmm. And usually I'm in the HOV lane, but this time I wasn't. I was in the lane next to the HOV lane.
Good Samaritan, Ethan.
And I was listening to BoJack Horseman.
Why?
Because I was watching it at the time and I wanted something to listen to on the way. So in my rearview mirror, I see a black BMW just cruising, coming fast, and it's like right behind me, and I'm like, huh, this guy isn't slowing down. And then I was like, he better brake. But he doesn't brake. He gets over into the HOV lane. And he keeps going. And there's nowhere for him to go. By the time he brakes, it's too late. And he rams into a couple on a motorcycle in front of him.
Jeez.
And they go flying off kind of like into my lane. I had to swerve around them. And I pulled over. I was like, oh, my heart was racing. Mm-hmm. I was like, what the heck?
Oh, my God.
A big part of it was like, I don't know what to do in this situation. So by the time I got out of my car, there's already other people there like tending to them. And the guy in the BMW drove off. He didn't stop. He kept going.
Wow. What a shithead.
BMW drivers. Ouch. And so they landed in the street. And then the bike was dragged probably, I'd say, 100 yards on the other side of the road is where it ended up.
Oh, my God.
So
you were in the HOV lane and it crossed,
traffic
all the way to like the exit ramps?
Yep.
Jeez.
It was and there was just debris. It was shattered. You couldn't really tell that it was like a bike. It was just destroyed. There's debris everywhere. The guy's jeans were just ripped to shreds. He was bloodied. We had to pick up their like wallets and stuff and their belongings. The girl was carrying a backpack, so we all put it in her backpack. And then paramedic or police officers responded really quickly. And then by the time I think it was like they responded within like 5 minutes. It's actually pretty quick. But when they got there, like, oh, just like stay here, and then like we'll take your statement. I was like, okay. I ended up staying there for like 30, 45 minutes. And then like paramedics showed up, and it was crazy because it was also raining.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was raining. The guy had a gun, like a gun holster, the guy on the bike, and his gun was like 20 feet away from him, and his magazine was like 20 yards away from that.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
So it was just like picking up different pieces, like seeing like, oh, where does this go to? And just we put everything in the girl's backpack, like I said. And that was probably one of the scarier. I wouldn't even say that's the scariest time I've had on the road.
Yeah, it's driving down
like
here is wild.
swerving over people's bodies in the road. That was quite the scare.
Did they end up dying? Do you know?
I do not know. They had movement in all their limbs and everything. They didn't let them move because if anything was broken, they don't want them to like move around.
Right.
So paramedics showed up. They put them on a stretcher.
Yeah.
And then they put them in the ambulance and ended up leaving. So yeah, that was last June, and my second scariest time on the road.
Second scariest.
Would you share the first?
The first.
Do I know what it is?
It was about a year ago. I was driving up to Flagstaff in a snowstorm.
Oh, I do know. Okay.
It was a snowstorm. My wipers aren't the best.
Non-existent
At
the time.
Dude, I couldn't see more than 5 feet in front of me.
That's dangerous.
And I was shaking. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't see. And then I turn, like, it was like that for a good 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah, so driving up to Flagstaff's like the going up the mountain.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like swerving left and right all the way up. So I can only imagine. It was like pitch black, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever made that drive, Gavin?
Not while it was snowing.
Well, just like during the day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it was scary. Once I did make a turn, like around a mountain, I assume. Then I saw the other side of the road, like the oncoming traffic, all their headlights, and I was like, "Oh, I can see now." But that was probably the scariest. I wouldn't do it again.
About how long was like that stretch? Like
the stretch of
like you being like freaked out, like because you couldn't see anything.
Like distance or time?
Time.
20 to 30 minutes.
Jeez, yeah, that's like excruciating, just constant.
I think my only comfort was I was barely able to make out the taillights in front of me. I was going like 15 miles an hour.
Putting a lot of trust into a stranger.
I was like, I can see this guy. This guy, we're blood brothers right now. I will trust you with my life. Wherever you go, I go.
I've had something similar.
Unless I see the headlights just drop. then I do not go.
I've had something similar happen when it was like raining super hard because I was like going to Texas. And there was no wipers because this guy's car was not exactly the best.
I've been there.
And so, I mean,
there's no reason to have wipers when you live here.
They were working, but I mean, they weren't working well enough.
Yeah.
So it was practically like a snowstorm kind of thing where it was raining so hard that it was flooding the streets and it was just creating fog and mist because everybody was driving. Man. So same thing. I couldn't see more than like 5-10 feet in front of me.
I hate that about like heavy rain is the mist that blinds you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where were you? I know you were going to Texas. Was this?
I think it was on the 10 at that point.
Oh, you're still in Arizona?
Yeah. We hadn't crossed state lines yet, but we were like pretty far. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I am someone who loves driving. I just don't like driving in those kind of conditions.
Jeez. I don't really have a story like that. I mean, I've gotten in like a very bad car accident and totaled my car, but I wouldn't even say that was scary. It was more like, I mean, it happened really fast, so I didn't really have time to be scared, and I was fine. Mm-hmm. But my car was done. So like it was on the freeway, so somebody like hit me in the front, like trying to get over into my lane, and it like threw me off to the left. I think I was in the leftmost lane, and I had hit the barrier of one of the ramps that exit off to the left, like a HOV exit. Mm-hmm. So I like hit the barrier. I think almost head on, maybe a little bit to the side, and I was mostly fine. I don't even think I had like any scratches or anything. So, sheesh. Yeah, it was pretty miraculous.
Didn't she get blamed for that too?
It was partial. We both took partial technique because you can't really. It was he said, she said. So I mean, it was partial blame,
which I thought was stupid.
My insurance is still recovering.
Yeah.
I was like 23 at the time, 22
in high school. So yeah, you were like
22 maybe. I think I was 22. So 3 years ago.
I remember my mom texting me. All she said was, "Jacob got in a car accident." And I was like, "You want to elaborate on that?" I was like, "Well, is he okay? Like, what happened?" And then the next thing she sent me was pictures of the car. I was like, "What? Is he okay?"
Funeral services TBD.
I was like, "The car looks pretty messed up. Is he okay?" "Oh, he's fine."
Lead with that.
I know.
I remember that. Yeah. That's my only story, but I wouldn't even say that I was scared just because of how it happened.
Oh, gosh. Stories of the road. If you have any stories of the road,
please drive safe.
Let us know. Put it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you have one scarier than Gavin's. This wasn't that scary, so you should have one.
I was going to say, it wasn't that scary.
Leave it in the comments.
Man, I do want to... No, I want to get in sometime. Do you guys have like paranormal stories?
Oh, dude,
you know what?
Too many of those.
We will do that next week.
We need a segment like that because it just reminds me of something like that.
We'll do that next week. If that interests you, put it in the comments. If you have one, put it in the comments. Maybe we'll read it.
That'd be cool.
If you have any paranormal activity stories,
paranormal experiences.
Stories. I was like activity. I was like, that's a movie. If you have any paranormal experiences, put it in the comments. Maybe we'll read it next week.
Cool.
All right, JB, you have the fun fact of the week?
Yes. Speaking of, this one's going to be football related because when I saw this stat, NFL, they have tons of stats, but this one actually
very obscure
raised one of my eyebrows. Not both, but one of them. So did you get, Tom Brady, a very accomplished athlete, quarterback, especially in the postseason, in the playoffs.
Correct.
So the stat was Tom Brady, over the age of 37, has more playoff wins than any other quarterback has total in their careers. He has 17 playoff wins over the age of 37.
How old is he now?
44.
Oh, my God.
So 7 years.
And the next closest is Joe Montana with 16 career playoff wins.
Oh, my gosh.
So how many career playoff wins does Tom Brady have?
I don't even know the total, but I just thought that stat alone was insane.
I remember curious about, what was Tom Brady's worst season? And his worst season, he ended 9-7. Which was still...
I yearn for that.
Which is still
poor guy.
A pretty good season. So I'm pretty sure he made it to the playoffs every time.
Jags fans punching the air right now. Oh, sorry, Gavin.
Next year.
It's okay. I can't talk. I need to mend my heart. It's fine. Okay, that was my stat. I saw that. Even the stat of Brady versus every other quarterback in the playoffs when it started has more playoff wins than all of them combined.
Well, when you look at Matt Stafford,
0, Kyler Murray 0, Derek Carr 0. Yeah, there's a lot of zeros, but it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady, the GOAT. Gavin? No?
Stat-wise, yes.
Greatest quarterback of all time.
Stat-wise, yes.
Doesn't that transfer to being yes? Why not?
I don't think there's a definitive best at anything.
Tom Brady.
I think Tom Brady could lose. I think Tom Brady could have throwing competitions and he could lose that competition.
Yeah, of course.
Just because he was the best.
The goal is to win the Super Bowl, and he's done that the most.
Oh, yeah, no.
I'd say he's the greatest.
It's a team effort.
And he's the oldest. Well, yeah, there's the whole things about his defense. Whatever. Yeah, but fine. Yeah. Sure. Go.
So, yes, stat-wise, sure. But...
Okay, that was just a stat. I don't like talking about Tom Brady like this. He's good. Leave it at that.
All right. Cool. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at OEF_white noise and at One-Eyed Fitz. Follow us there.
Leave your scary car stories or ghost stories.
That would be greatly appreciated.
Stories.
I have a scary strip club story. I can tell that next week.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll make a scary story segment. Yeah.
Like paranormal scary or like something fuzzy scary?
We'll have to find out next week, won't we?
All right.
Oh my gosh. Tune in for Gavin's fuzzy, scary strip club story. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. That's at One-Eyed Fitz. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. We'll read and answer them. They can be about anything. If it's something you want us to talk about, if it's something that's going on, something about us, leave in the comments. And for this week's Song of the Week, it's something everyone should be pretty familiar with. It's Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts.
Nice. I love cars.
It's a cover. I do love cars.
That's what I think about with that song.
I think they did it better. No disrespect,
Ooh.
But
was that exclusively for cars?
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I think so, but I'm not sure. Cars was a good movie. How about that?
Wow.
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 Who's the original singer? I know it's Tom Cochran. He's the original writer. And I did listen to his version. It's good. I think that Rascal Flatts is just more, I don't know, rock.
More on the highway.
Yeah, more on the highway. A good way of putting it. But yeah, it's Song of the Week. If you haven't listened to it for some reason, go watch the movie Cars. And
ciao.
Just don't watch Cars 2.
Nobody
Cars 3?
Just don't watch Cars 2.
Cars 3.
Cars 3 is good. You guys watch that?
I don't like Cars 3.
All right, next week. Cars 3. Forget The Departed. We're watching Cars 3.
Cars 3.
All right, cool. All right, I have to go shave Gavin's feet, so we'll see you next week.